Hello, welcome to episode 30 of the Game Dev Tutorials. Happy to have made it this far. 30 is quite a few, and pretty happy with that. I want to just quickly remind you guys that the full solution is down in the provided material area in the description. If you guys like what I'm doing here, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Consider Patreon if this has helped you in any professional way, or you just want to support the channel. All that money will go towards the channel, not towards me padding a bank account or anything. But I would really like to do things like create nicer art and all that kind of stuff, so consider it. Anyway, today we are working on creating what I call a level draw manager. Could call it a scene draw manager. You could call it lots of different things. This is just what I called it a long time ago because I was doing it for a level. But yeah, that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to add all the files to the engine, then I'm going to explain them. I'm not going to be doing all the typing today. They're relatively, it's not complicated, but it's more complicated than I can get done in a 30-minute to an hour video by typing it all. And then also, next thing we're going to do is we're going to edit scene item, which we will type most of that, I think. We'll see. See how our time's going. And then we will add the pipeline for this to work, and then we'll test it. And then, just as a quick reminder of where we were at, let me build this and show you what we're trying to correct. It was 2 episodes ago that we dealt with this. So we're coming over here, and we have this tree drawing over top of the other tree. When we're done, this tree will draw behind that tree, and we won't even touch the positioning or the order that they're added, right? So that's the whole goal, is that you can add these things in any order, and then you add these things. You can add scene items in any order, and they will draw in a way that you expect them to. Now, I want to also mention quickly that if your game it is likely that your game will need heavy edits to this draw manager. Okay, so I am drawing, let's see, things in a kind of an isometric view. So like this guy is here, and then that draws behind that, and this draws behind all that, but this guy draws in front of that, but behind that. You see what I'm saying? So you may be drawing things in a different way, and that's fine. You're going to have to edit your manager. I also don't care between left and right in my drawing. I haven't needed to worry about that. So like, let's say this thing is here and this thing is exactly even here. It doesn't really matter which one draws in front of which, just as long as one of them draws. I guess we'll just do it this way. It doesn't matter that this one is drawing in front of it, right? It only matters that one of them draws in front of it if they're exactly equal. But if this one is 5 pixels higher, then we definitely want to draw it behind. If it's 5 pixels lower, then we definitely want to draw it in front, right? So on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, that's a quick overview, and then we can kind of jump into this stuff. Okay, let's see. First we'll add the files. Let me grab those real fast. And they go into data types. Oh no, they go into output. Let's drop them in there. That's where they go. I gotta fix these, take the prompt word off, because, yes, I do a prompt first. If you guys haven't noticed. Mainly because I've got to wean these things down. This one is also weaned down. I should mention that. We're obviously going to have some issues here, so let's work with scene item real fast and get it to where it has all the things that we need. So I'm going to type this so that I can talk about it with you guys. Draw loc ID. Okay, so this ID is just an ID that's assigned by the manager. It's a way to quickly and efficiently find out if the manager already has an instance of this object or not. For me, I only want one instance of each object in the Draw Manager. Could you do yours differently? Of course you could. This is how I want mine to be. Okay? And then we have Draw Layer. Okay, so Draw Layer, let me go back to my Photoshop, is if you think of it like a stack, right? So you have down here, you have Draw Layer 0. Technically, you'd have -1, -2 if you really want to. It goes forever, but I never go below 0. Actually, I never go below 1, but we're gonna work on it. Then you draw these next. Then you draw these next. That was terrible. Then we draw these next. Then we draw these next, right? So that's how we're doing things. Now, an example of this would be like, let's say this is your regular normal level. Give me a big eraser here real fast. Ooh, that didn't do it. We need... There we go. Okay. So maybe this is your base layer. And then maybe your next layer is some birds. And then maybe another layer, clouds, right? You can maybe put those on the same layer, but I'm just saying. And then maybe down below you would be something like footprints, or maybe you know, your floor that's not the background. Or you could actually do the floor and the background here. I never do, because I know the background is the background, and I don't want it to even have to sort it, because it's going to be the last thing drawn. But this could be like bricks that you have on the floor, things that edit your background. So this allows you kind of to layer things on top of each other in a nice way, so that the floor always draws below the footprints, which draw below the characters, which draw below the environmental things. And so you want a draw layer, and you want a positional sorting. So we need a draw layer sort, so this is our draw layer here. And then we have public vector 2 sort offset. Now, what's sort offset? Well, alright, let's say we have our character, and he draws from a center point based on our engine. Let's say it's right there. Okay? That's where he's drawing. And right now, that's the only information we would have to sort on. And let's say we have a bench, right? And the bench, get a new layer. Let's get a new layer so I can move these back and forth. The bench draws like this, and it has the bench back part. Cool. Another leg, okay. But it draws on this point here. Okay? So right now our bench is drawing in front of our guy. Now that may actually be what you want for the scene, but in this case, it's not what we want. What we want, and actually let me make this make a little bit more sense. So right there. Okay? So now it would be a little weird for it to draw in front of our guy, because our guy's legs are touching the ground below it. Maybe we make that a little bit more obvious. Let's go like this. Whoops. Our legs. So now it's weird that the bench is drawing in front of the dude. Okay? What we want is the bench to draw behind the dude. And actually, I think... Yeah, okay. Now our bench is drawing in front of the dude. You can tell by the dot in front of it. And that's not necessarily what we want. We want the bench to draw behind the dude. But the only point we have for the bench is below the dude. So it draws after the dude. if we don't have another sort method. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an offset to that, and we'll do this. We'll just get another color, and we'll say our dude's offset is here, points to there, and our bench's offset points to there. So now we draw the bench behind our dude, and that should be more correct. So I guess a more concise way to say this would be objects are different sizes. If you're always drawing off the center point, things are going to get a little wonky. Because you're going to have things that their center point is not where they're actually supposed to be drawn in the scene. What the draw offset allows you to do is to select a point for which that thing draws in the scene. So you can do lots of points. You can draw points way down here, right? Your draw point can be way off, and that's okay. Sometimes that actually helps. But I hope that makes sense. This is a little bit complicated. You'll see it happen. With our trees, it's similar in that way as well. So, okay. That's what sort offset is. These are all important. So, and then lastly, we're going to have public pass object draw manager del. And this just helps you update things later. You'll see it in a few minutes. Okay, so we add all that in, and then we need to create a property. So we're going to say properties in region, and then in here we're going to have public virtual void vector2, not void, vector2 sort offset. In here we're going to say get, and we're going to return the position of our scene item plus sort offset. So that's actually where we're at. Sort offset position plus sort offset is where we actually want to draw at. And then we're going to have a set, which you actually don't need right now, but let's just do it for a second, because this may come in handy to you. When we're setting it, it's value minus sort offset, and I have it in parentheses because I actually tend to add things right here, but I'm just gonna leave it for now. Okay, so that is where we're actually testing for the sort, and this is where we are, how we would assign it if we were giving it an actual position in the world. I find these useful. This one we're going to use, the get, in just a second. Let me build it and see where we're at on our errors. Let's see. Well, that should work. I didn't say it right. Let's sort drop those. My bad. And then draw manager del. Thought we had that. It's right there. Huh. Item to scene item. Let's look. Huh. That's there. So that's correct. Did I call this thing the wrong thing? No, it's pass object. Okay. Oh, manager. I didn't spell it right. That's what it is. Spelling is always a good thing, right? Anyway, okay, so we're out of errors. So now we can go to explaining everything. So hopefully you guys understand that these three variables, this one's just an updater. You'll see it in a minute. and then why we have the property. So let's start with the end of everything. I don't think we use this yet. Oh, we do. Never mind. We'll get to the package in a little bit. Let's do draw slot. So a draw slot is this, and we don't need the alternative draw function at this point. Hopefully that doesn't break things. Of course it does. We don't need all this right now, so leave it out. I don't want to complicate things further than we already have. I want to keep things simple. Let's go back to draw slot. Okay, we have a bool that tells us whether we're allowed to draw this item. So you can turn on and off your draws. One reason to do that is, oh, it's off the screen. Maybe we don't draw that, So that's one reason. It could be that you don't want it to draw because it's dead. It could be all kinds of things. This is the ID. Remember we talked about having those IDs? This is the ID that matches with this ID. It has its own offset. Now this offset is the offset you wanted to draw with, because we are going to be drawing it through here, so we need to pass it its offset. That may seem confusing. Is there other ways I've found to do it? Yes, but this one just seems to be the least confusing way to do it. So this is the world's offset. Whatever offset you wanted to draw with, you pass in on the update, and then you have it for the draw here. And then it has the scene item that we are working with. So this is the item. So essentially this is a package that encapsulates the scene item with a couple other variables to use in Draw Manager. So Draw Manager has a sort bool, because you need to know if it's sorting, because it's threaded. The next ID, remember we are keeping track of the ID so that we can add one to it each time we add something to the scene, because remember our IDs are unique. Those IDs are what go into this ID. So yeah, we have a list of all the drawables. Drawables are what we just went over. How long you want before the sort happens. So I don't sort every frame. Why? Sorting this can be very heavy on your program. So anything between, let's say, 120 and like 250 is going to be fine. For right now, I'll leave it to 120. You know what we didn't do? I didn't set the base values of these. So draw loc ID equals 0 always to start with, and sort offset. Oh no, let's say draw layer. Draw layer 5. Why 5? Gives you plenty of layers below it, and obviously infinite layers above it. You can use whatever you want. I use 5. Okay. And then the sort offset equals new vector 2. Sorry for being a little bit scattered here. I just completely skipped over that for some reason. Don't ask me why. We will come back and add something below here later as well, but we'll get to that later. So for the sort running, we're not sorting, so it starts out as false, and next ID is 1 because we're going to start the IDs at 1. No big deal. Our update is very simple. It's literally just, hey, do we need to sort? Well, let's update the sort timer. Do we need to sort? If so, sort. Right? That's not rocket science. Reset the timer for sorting. Okay. Sorting is, if we're not already sorting, threading, so task. We went over this in a previous one, but we have our bool to say if we're sorting that gets set to true and then to false. I don't think do I use it? We do use this. Okay. So temp slot is just literally a temp slot to use to make our sorting, which happens here. So we're going to loop all of our drawables. And again, so this function you should be editing. This one will work. It is not efficient. Okay? I gave you one that will work, or at least barring some weird bug, but it worked in my testing. Barring some bug, this one works, but it is about as inefficient as you can get. You can use the merge or quicksort algorithms to make this more efficient and be 100% correct. The one I use is actually not 100% correct, and that sounds weird. But I found that this sorting gets so heavy that I have limited the amount of sorting it's allowed to do. So I'm not going to get into that right now, but what you'll find is an imperfect one might be needed in order to not just weigh your system down way too hard. Alright, so for all the things in drawables, so all your scene items, check the other scene items. If you find one that is on a lower layer, then we need to consider it. No. Okay. If the layer behind it, I'm sorry, I apologize. So let's say the one we're looking at has a draw layer of 1, and then the one that's above it has a draw layer of 2. Well, now we're at a point where that's wrong. We need to sort it. Okay? So the one above it in the list, the one that draws earlier is supposed to be drawing later. That's not good. That's what we have at this point right here. Okay? So now we're sorting, and we loop through all drawables again, and we find the first time that an item's draw layer is greater than the draw layer of the item we're sorting, and from there we insert it at that point, so right in front of it. So this does not sort based on the vertical. This sorts based on draw layer. Only based on draw layer. Then we have the same thing, except for now we're sorting on vertical. So we need to test and make sure they are the same draw layer, because if they're not the same draw layer, it doesn't do us any good. And then we need to sort based on, you know what? This is wrong, because I don't have the and here. Alright, so this may cause a bug, but this is a bug to begin with. I just didn't sort enough things for it to happen, obviously, in my testing. Okay, so if I's draw layer is equal to J's draw layer. Yeah, okay, so draw layers need to be equal. We're sorting draw layers here. We're not sorting draw layers here. So we need to make sure that they're equal. Otherwise, this code is worthless. Okay? So we test to see if J's higher than I. Okay? In its Y positioning. So again, so we come back here. We say, hey, J is here, and Y is here. No, I is here. So I. Boy, that was bad. J. We want I to draw before J. Right now, we're sorting through to find the first J for which it is below I, and then we put I in right there, right? Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not always the greatest at explaining everything, but essentially you're finding the place for which the sort location of of Y, I and Y, sort location of Y is the correct place to insert. Okay, so we've sorted based on draw layer, and here is sorting based on Y axis height. Okay, or Y position, however you want to say that. The sorting is the second most important thing in this whole first or second, depending on how you look at it, thing in this whole class. So that's important. The other one is inserting stuff into it, which starts here, and it says add or update the draws. Alright, so we're saying if the item draw ID is 0, or it's not found when we're searching for it, then we're adding it. Okay. We actually don't update it here. We update it elsewhere, but minor deal. This would be the update if you wanted to update, but it's there if you need it. This is just grabbing the next ID and then upping the ID counter each time. Here we're inserting. So this is very simple. You could definitely merge sort this. It'll be slightly complicated because you're doing it on 2 variables, but you could definitely do it. But this is just saying, hey, go find where it belongs and put it in there. That's all it is. Loop through everything, find where it goes. If it doesn't find it, add it here. Right? So we add it at the end. That's it. That's all that does. Removing is the same thing. We're just looping through, finding it, removing it. No big deal. Searching for it, that's what we're doing up right here. Just to see, hey, is it in there? If it is, return true. If it's not, false. And then lastly, we're going to draw. So we redraw all our drawables, and our drawables are sorted. That's why this works. And we go to drawables sort, draw, which goes here, and then item draw with the offset. Okay. The update package is just what you pass in to the updater, and it basically just is the offset and the and tells it if it's drawing or not. That's all it does. Very, very simple stuff. And that goes into update details right here. So it comes in, it says, oh, okay, is it drawing? Set it drawing and offset to these things. That's the whole thing. It's just a package so that I can add things to it if I ever wanted to, but I never ended up doing it. So, okay. Hopefully some of that makes sense. Hopefully I didn't just babble too much. I know it's a complicated process, but essentially all you're doing is you're sorting based on your draw layer and you're sorting based on your Y position. That's it. That's all we're doing. And in this case, we are doing it in the simplest, most straightforwardest way that we can do it. You should edit that. Mini games are going to need it to be very different than this. I'm assuming this an isometric view. That's not always true. Okay? All right. Cool. Now we need to go into our world and add the pipeline stuff. So, where are we at? World. Okay. First things first, we're going to add ourselves the level draw manager. Then we are going to instantiate it. Let's see, level draw manager equals new level draw manager. Simple stuff. The next thing we need to do is we need to update said level draw manager. And so what we're going to do here is we are going to only do it when it's not paused and stuff and it's running and yada yada yada. So we'll put it here. It's important to do this early. Well, you know what? Depending on how you program this, it'll be the very first thing you do or the very last thing you do in your update. Okay? So here we're going to do the first thing. Now, this doesn't actually do anything with nothing in it. We haven't gotten anything in it yet. So what we need to do here is come down here, and we no longer need to update SceneItems in the same way. We do need an update, but what we need more so is SceneItems i.update draw, which we don't have here. So I'm just going to leave it here. We need to add that in here. So this is the magic sauce of how we get things into our scene. So public virtual void update draw. And in update draw, we need to bring in vector2 offset and level draw manager. Level draw manager. Okay. If draw loc ID equals 0 and level draw manager is not equal to null. So if you just don't pass in a level draw manager, it's going to ignore a lot of this stuff, and that's fine. No problem. Okay. We're going to say level draw manager dot add or update. We're passing in this and that it's drawable, so true. So we're adding that to our level draw manager. If draw del manager not equal null, so draw del manager is set here, so that'll get set in here, calls here. So essentially this gets this set as long as it can, and then we have draw manager del, and we have new draw slot update package, and then we have offset true. Okay. This updates our offsets, which is super important. Otherwise, they won't draw in the right place. Okay. Let's go back to world. Let's put that in. Update draw. Offset. Level draw manager. Good. Okay. So now we're updating our scene. Right now our scenes don't actually update the way you would think, so you could just get rid of it, but we'll leave it. It shouldn't hurt anything. And if you want to use your animated 2D-ness, that'll be important to still update like that so that it runs through the animations. And then lastly, we need to draw things. So if we come here and we say we don't need SceneItems drawing anymore, because they draw from our level draw manager. So we replace where it was with if level draw manager not equal null, level draw manager dot draw. Very simple stuff. Very, very simple stuff. But this should now, provided we didn't break everything, draw everything for us. So let's move it over. We expect that tree to be in its correct location. Oh, my fingers are off. And now that tree is now drawing behind that tree. Now only these trees are subject to our level draw manager right now. Okay, this video is already long enough. We're not going to jump through that. But you can get all of this, everything, drawing in our level draw manager. And that's going to be a better way to test it. And I will do that soonish. For this project, but you should try it. You should give it a go. See if you can make that work. I mean, essentially all you have to do is make sure to pass the new objects that you want in there into your level draw manager, and then let's say for let's go to definition. I forget what we're calling attackable object. There we go. Go to definition. Attackable object, instead of being inheriting from animated 2D, it needs to inherit from scene item. If you do those two things for every different kind of object, then they will all draw from your scene manager now, and your scene manager will become very powerful and keep everything drawing properly. You will need to work on your sword offsets and all those kinds of things, because right now they're all set to the center of the object, but like units probably all want to be drawing from where their feet are, or maybe from a specific spot. So keep all that in mind. Yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sorry if I babbled a little too much here. This is an important topic. It's something you're going to have. Well, that's not true. You don't have to have it, but if you don't have a draw manager, you are essentially going to have to spaghetti code the crap out of your program if it gets, let's say, above a couple thousand lines. It's going to be a world of hurt. I think we're already at a few thousand lines. If I had to guess, let's see. Where are we at? Where are we at? Let's code metrics this sucker. Since we're on number 30. All right, I guess we're at 1,247 lines. Not too bad. Not too bad. We could probably get our depth of inheritance down if we did some better sorting and whatnot, and we can probably get our class coupling. Well, class coupling's fine, to be honest. But anyway, minor details. So we're at 1,247 lines of code so far. Look how much we've done with that. We could actually get that down and have the same game, but again, I'm trying to use code in such a way that it's very understandable. So anyway, not bad. I would assume this game's going to have close to, I don't know, 25,000 to 35,000 lines by the time it's done. But that's where we're at now. And not too bad for 30 tutorials. So, guys, I really hope you're enjoying this. If you do, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. And if you're so inclined, I would love to have you guys consider Patreon. It really will boost the channel to something much better. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next time. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Peace.